Welcome back to Off Guard. I'm your host, Austin Rivers, along with my guy, Pausha Gigi, fresh on a Monday morning here. Beautiful weather down here in sunny Florida. Hope everybody's doing well. Pausha, how are we doing?
You know, right before the pod started, you're talking about how annoying the Chiefs are, how they just keep finding a way to win. Yeah. I thought you would appreciate like the winner mentality. They have the championship DNA and all that stuff. You're annoyed by the fact that they just keep coming.
I'm annoyed because their season doesn't reflect the success. That's the one thing about football is you could have like a mediocre season and like just get to the playoffs.
The Giants won 2 Super Bowls doing that, right?
Yeah, and then you win a couple games, now you're in the Super Bowl. It's just like they just keep escaping by the skin of their teeth, bro. They keep getting in these games with teams and then like they're going to win. Like you know it's going their way.
Yeah.
Listen, I tip my hat off to Pat Mahomes. You got to respect it. You know, he's arguably already one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. If he wins 3 in a row the first time ever in the NFL, at that point, you really have to have a serious conversation of where he's at on that ladder of quarterbacks already. This guy's like 27, 28 years old, possibly about to win his 4th ring. It's remarkable. So I have, a ton of respect for the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, the whole team. But listen, like the Taylor Swift stuff and like you got all these different things going on. Like it's been so overdone that I think a lot of people want just some fresh blood in there, some fresh faces. And then obviously Josh Allen's had an MVP-like season. I thought it'd been really cool if he like finally, him or Lamar just took this guy down once.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of like keeping it. You needed the Cavs to beat the Warriors one of those years, playoff. Otherwise, it would have just been the Warriors every year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we needed LeBron and them to come up big and Kyrie to hit that shot. It makes it interesting. If they go beat the Eagles again, it would just be like, good God. I mean, Jalen Hurts has been here. It's going to be different. I mean, Jalen Hurts is like, I've already lost this team once in the Super Bowl. Sure, he's going to come in with a different level of, confidence and understanding of, being in that stage. It looks like he handles pressure very well. Yeah, I would imagine he's probably going to approach it a little bit better. And I would imagine that most of America's probably voting or rooting for the Eagles.
You think so? Well, I mean, listen, they have like an MVP, obviously.
All the reason now is people with Philly fans are just like, I don't know if I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? They are like, amongst sports fans, you probably put Philly at like the top in terms of, they're a rowdy little bunch.
Yeah. Name some other fan bases that. Well, are we saying that? Are we talking about fan bases that we actually appreciate and like, or are they maybe like obnoxious and loud?
Both sides. They're passionate, so you got to respect it. Listen, I have a lot of respect for Philly fans just because they're passionate over their teams. Sometimes you can confuse passion sometimes with something else, though. Like they can be extremely negative towards their own product. You know what I mean? Like 1 minute they're cheering you on, 1 minute they're cussing you off, saying "fuck you." It's very harsh up there. Yeah. It's a brutal fan base. I say that with respect, and also on the other side. Pretty much are all fan bases in the Midwest. They're all angry they live there.
You mean Northeast?
Northeast and in the Midwest. You got like Detroit fans are a little rowdy and you got,
well, so when your dad was in Boston, I feel like obviously him winning the championship was obviously going to always make him a beloved figure.
Any place where it's cold.
Yeah.
Any place where it's cold, your fans are going to be that way. Because if it's 75 degrees, you're not that mad. When you lose, you go outside, you're like, yeah, it's a beautiful day.
If the Heat lose, they just walk outside.
They lose, you walk outside, there's like a party going on. Everyone's like, you lose in Philly, man. You go outside, it's cold and it's muggy and you're freezing outside. Not muggy, but you know what I'm saying? It's cold and freezing and shit slush on your boots. Just like, you're angry. There's a thing of imagine like Buffalo Bills fans yesterday. It's like watching in the freezing cold sun bar and they just like, golly, same thing over and over again.
Right. So the way I think Josh Allen's 0-4, the Bills are 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. People were bringing up like LeBron versus Toronto or the Warriors with the Rockets all those years. I know that probably hits close to home for you. What's that like? Unfortunately, you're on the other side of that. Like, how does that feel going into it? Like, do you have every time you go in, you're like, we just got to beat this team? Or do you have like a little sense of doubt in the back of your mind? Like, what's the approach like?
I wouldn't say there was a sense of doubt with us. With the Warriors, we believed we could beat them. The problem is we didn't have any proof in the pudding. So you have to really like reach within because you don't have something you could stare at and be like, man, look, we did this already. We beat them before. It had been, so long and we had never beat them in a playoff series. I felt that way even with the Clippers because the last time they beat them was before I even got to that team. Yeah. And that was really before the Warriors. That was like the final year before the Warriors really created that team.
And they still went to Game 7 in the first round. That was Mark Jackson.
So, it's crazy to see, this happening. I watched that game last night, and I thought to myself, and they were talking about that TV, Josh Allen, he's 0-4, and then they brought up Lamar and some other people who just can't beat this team. And it really does trigger like the Warriors thing, where you're just like, man, at one point that team was so good, you felt like you had to play perfect to beat them. I don't know. We went to that series and we just thought, like, listen, let's just take a game by game. At some point, the series is 2-2. You're like, we got this. And then, they just, like, I'm sure Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson at some point in the game were like, yo, this is ours. And then they just get it. They just don't get it done. We didn't get it done. The Warriors would just always have an answer. They'd always make the biggest play, whether it's on defense, offense, something happened, tip the game their way. And
there's also a little luck factor, right? Like Chris Paul's hamstring getting hurt, or there's always a couple things. People don't understand how hard it is to get to do these things. Like 100%. You have to be healthy. The Warriors were, until that 2019 run with the Raptors, they were pretty healthy, right, with all those guys. And then out of nowhere in the finals, luck
can go your way or against you. That's a great point. That finals versus Toronto, if the Warriors were healthy, it would have been a 5-game series. Golden State. It's just the reality of the situation now. They lose all their players. Toronto had their guys. They took advantage and they did exactly what they're supposed to do when luck's on your side. We've played the Warriors one time where, like, I think KD went down. They only had Steph and Clay, and we kind of were like, yo, we got this. And they beat us in game 6.
Right.
We couldn't even force a game 7. So luck wasn't on their side and they still got it done. We've had our opportunities versus the Warriors. We did not get it done. And that's just something you just got to live with.
But on the flip side, so even when you were with the Rockets or Clippers, if you were losing to the Warriors, but there were also teams that you probably had that same, like, control over on the other end.
Yeah.
There's some teams where you played where you were like,
they're not beating us.
Yeah, we could easily just beat them really quick.
It doesn't matter how close the game is, we'll just beat them.
Yeah. What when you were on the Rockets, what team were you?
Plenty of teams. I would say, on the Rockets, we always played like Utah. We always played Donovan Mitchell and Rudy and always and Joe Ingles, that whole team, and Rubio, and they just never could beat us. The games would go like max 5-game series. They get 1. We beat them the first 2 at home, and then we beat them game 3. It's over. You win that first one on the road after winning 2 at home. Like, they're just like, they like have that one game in game 4 where they give everything and they beat us, and then we're like, all right, we're gonna go home and get it done.
Yeah.
I would say them, Utah. I don't know. At that time, we could beat everybody but the Warriors. So that was the one team that we only really cared about beating. We couldn't get past them.
So one thing that's happened since our last pod, they announced the All-Star starters, and the only thing that was kind of, had a little bit of drama with it was LaMelo getting most of the fan votes, and the players ranked him 3rd, right? They voted him 3rd, but he isn't a starter, and he might not make the game at all.
He'll make the game.
So you really think so? Because there's guys like Dame. We were going to talk about last night, Tyrese Maxey, Darius Garland. I don't know if they want to put like Halliburton or Trae Young.
Halliburton is not making the All-Star game,
and I don't know if the coaches will vote Trae Young, but
I don't think
there are
Trae
a lot
Young,
of guards there.
I don't think Trae Young makes it either.
Oh, Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham's automatically in.
Right, so we just named some guards right there. So it's going to be tough for LaMelo, and I don't know if the coaches are going to vote a guy with a team with the record.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of LaMelo. At some point, though, we got to start winning some ball games. Everyone knows I'm a huge advocate for LaMelo and his game, his talent. I was obviously it went viral earlier this year when we, which we didn't intentionally do, but we just brought up him being better than Halliburton, which I still stand by. I think he's a better player. With that being said, you could argue Halliburton definitely knows how to win a game more than LaMelo.
Yeah.
His teams are always better. Now, he might have more talent or more help on his team, fair, but I would argue, even last year or the year before, like, Halliburton's always figured out a way to get his teams to win more games. I think LaMelo's a more talented player and a better basketball player. I don't know if he's a better winner than Halliburton, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, neither I believe should be in the All-Star game. Because when you look at guys who have put up similar numbers but have way more team success, they have to get in. So, like, Cade Cunningham was a borderline starter in the East. Obviously, they gave it to Jalen Brunson. You get that. Cade is going to be a reserve and should be and will be voted by the coaches 100%.
Absolutely, he's a lock.
I think Damian Lillard would be the other All-Star.
I feel like historically the coaches will reward a guy like Damian Lillard who's done it. Like they bring those names in. Like they're like,
because they're going to put this list together and they're going to be like, listen, the Bucks are in the middle of the East. They're in the playoffs. Yeah. Dame's actually having a pretty damn good year. I don't know how we don't vote him in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Who do I vote over him? Trae Young? No, their team's not doing as well. The numbers are, they're good, but they're just same as like Dame. So I'm going Dame. Darius Garland's good, but he's not as good as Damian Lillard. We know that. So he's not getting over him.
But there's pressure to vote in the guys with the best record, right?
Right, but they'll get 2 already. They'll get Mobley and they'll get Donovan. You get 2. The Knicks got 2. Cavs will get 2. OKC is fighting right now to get 2. I don't know if that'll happen. They're trying to get Jalen Williams in there. It's tough though.
With a record like that, it's so hard to just have one All-Star, right?
It is, because it's like they can't be this team this good with just one All-Star.
Yeah.
It also alludes to why Shea's probably unanimous MVP right now. You know what I mean? Like, his team is very good. We know that. But right now, it is just kind of him in terms of All-Star. Jalen Williams is really good. Is he an All-Star level? He's like borderline. He's like right there. You know what I mean? I do believe he'll be a perennial All-Star. Does it start this year or not? I don't know. If he got voted in, I wouldn't be like, how? Because he's a good player. But I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't make it either. It could go 50-50 with him. Very talented young player. And you would think, the number 1 seed in the West definitely has a couple All-Stars. I believe if Chet was playing, probably Chet would get in, just due to his defensive abilities and what he does. But Jalen is that third star in that team. That's like their big 3. We'll see if he gets in. I don't even know who's the competition for him in the West. The West is such a weird, I don't know. The Phoenix gonna get 1 All-Star. They got Kevin. I don't believe Devin makes it. I don't know. I mean, let's go through it. Anthony Edwards isn't starting, so Ant's gonna be in a reserve. Let's see. The Kings might get 1, maybe, probably not. I don't know if the Kings get any.
The West is going to be tricky, and I feel like every year we look at the West and we're like, how do you leave one of these
starting?
guys out?
Steph, Kevin, LeBron,
Jokic,
Shea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a pretty much perfect starting lineup. I wouldn't change anything in that. You put Ant as a reserve. Devin might make it, because I don't really know who else is in the West. Just going through the teams right now. James Harden should make the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Their team's in the playoffs, and he's having a phenomenal year, and he's the best player in that team. Or has been.
So I'm glad you brought up the Clippers. They just beat the Bucks. James Harden had 40 points.
Yeah, that's my point.
They might have something cooking there, right? Kawhi's looking better and better. I'm seeing some highlights coming out of him.
They're a dangerous team.
Yeah, and is it just the thing where I don't care who's out there, like you said, like Amir Coffey or all these guys, whoever's out there, if Ty Lue's coaching, they're just not going to be like this bottom of the lottery team. Like, they're just going to be good.
Especially with James on the floor.
Yeah.
James still, listen, is James the James Harden in Houston? No. But that doesn't mean he's still not very good at this current stage. James is still one of the top best perimeter players in the NBA. You don't have to like it, but it's the truth. If you don't want to hear it, it's the truth. James Harden is still one of the best perimeter guards in the entire NBA. Fuck the West or the Clippers. I'm talking about the entire NBA. I can only even pick a handful of guys, 5 or 6 guys that can control a game. Like, full control. And I'm not putting Trae Young as like a top 5 guard, but he is one of those 5 or 6 guards that like have the ability to play a game. And it's just like at his mercy. Pick and roll, slice him, Luka, Shea, James, and you could pick maybe one more other guard who could just, I'm talking about, when they're on the court.
If it's non-guards, Jokic, obviously.
Nikola knows how to control a game as well. But I'm talking about just point guards. There's not a lot of guys who even play like that, who have the ball in their hands that much. Like, Halliburton doesn't have the ball in his hands enough. You know what I mean? Even like a Tyrese Maxey, who has other stars, doesn't have the ball in his hands enough. LaMelo doesn't do it yet because he doesn't know how to win games. So it's like Garland has Donovan Mitchell. I can keep going down the list. Jalen Brunson has Towns, and he don't really control.
Does that bother you that no one on Cleveland can, we talk about them being the number 1 seed and potentially winning the championship this year, but they don't have like a game, like a controller of the game?
They don't. They have a closer, though.
Yeah.
So that's what they're working with. They hang their hat on, all right, we're going to be one of the best defensive teams. We got great perimeter. We have interior defense. We got these 2 twin towers down there blocking shots. And then we have good guards who can create. And we have one guy who can close games. They got a closer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Damian Lillard doesn't control a basketball game. Fucker will close one, though. You know what I'm saying? It's just different types of strengths. James historically hasn't been the best closer at times, but he'll control a game. Luka, it's at his mercy. Kyrie's opposite. He'll close.
That's why Luka's so good. He controls and he can close, right?
And he can close. And if he can't, he has a guy who's solely good at closing. Kyrie's not a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands and dribble 3,000 times and control the whole game. And his pick and rolls, just picking teams apart. Like, Trae Young just does that. You could put him on any average-ass Hawks team and they'll compete just because he's just getting lobs.
He's never played with an All-Star.
That's just how Trae Young, he's able to control a basketball game. Imagine if Trae had like 2 or 3 All-Stars on his team like some of these guards get to play with. We don't know what that would look like, but he can control a basketball game. Kyrie's a closer. Dame's a closer. Luka is one of the few that has the ability to do both. Shea as well. They can control a game and close.
Cade is showing that he can control the game.
He's starting to get that right now, and that's what shocked people because we thought he was just a guy who could close games. We've seen him hit very big shots. And again, there's not a handful of guys that can close games too. There's only a couple, you get 5 or 6 guys on that side too that are like consistently able to close. Cade has proven this year that he's starting to become one of that because this guy finishes games very well, more times than not. And he's starting to know how to control the game. I didn't know he had that ability to play the pick and roll and read the floor the way he does. So he's been a huge surprise, not only for, I'm sure, Detroit, but for the NBA, because we knew he was good. I didn't know he's that good. And then there are players right now, if we're taking even outside of guards, who like don't know how to do either yet, but they're very talented and so exciting. Anthony Edwards is unbelievable. He doesn't know how to close games yet. He doesn't know how to control a game yet. He doesn't know how to do either.
I thought that's why Mike Conley was such a perfect pairing.
That's why they brought him in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They need someone to help with that. And until Ant gets there, which he will. You know what I mean? But he's not there yet.
Have you mentioned Jalen Brunson as far as controlling and closing?
He could close a game. He's not a controller. He's not a guy who's going to just like control. He has the ability when he has the game going, but he's a guy that like is going to go out and score the ball. And if you need big shots made down the stretch, he's going to close games.
Yeah.
That's where I put Brunson under.
To circle back on the LaMelo thing, if he's number 1 in fan voting and the players had him voted 3 and he doesn't make the game, and we're talking about, the All-Star game has bad ratings or ratings overall in the NBA, the guy that the fans want the most and the players vote him 3 doesn't make the game. I mean, what is that? Does that bother you at all, or does that sit well with you? Because
the only reason it doesn't bother me is because they got it right. So I don't really give a damn what the fans vote. The fans voted, fans vote silly shit all the time. Austin Reeves is in like the fan vote. You know what I'm saying? Like it's silly shit. So like I don't really care. I don't think they should have a vote anyway. No disrespect.
Yeah.
I think it should be strictly the players and coaches voting for who the best players are in the league and who should be making the All-Star game. When you add fans, it just becomes a popularity contest, and I don't really like that. I'm not a big popularity contest guy. I want who should be winning or who should be going off merit. That's just who should be in there off the work that they put in. Cade Cunningham should be an All-Star game. I don't give a damn how many more votes LaMelo has over him. Cade's had a much better season, and his team's had a better season. It's at
no one's questioning.
And a discussion. Yeah. Same with Damian Lillard. And a discussion.
Yeah.
Those guys should be in an All-Star game. Jalen Brunson's a starting point guard for the Knicks. They're competing for winning a championship. He's a starter in an All-Star game. It's the way it should be. LaMelo's a very exciting player. Again, we love LaMelo here on this pod. But like their team doesn't have that success yet. Nothing even near. It's actually hard to watch. So it's just like come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and LaMelo probably will get in. I do think he'll probably get in. He'll probably be the third guard in there. I think they go Dame. I think Cade gets in. I think LaMelo will be the third.
Or Garland.
Yes, I do. Off the pure strength of the Cavs already getting 2, because I think Mobley will be in that. I think he'll be voted as a reserve as well. I don't think people will feel the heavy heart about getting Garland in because they got 2. We need to give Cleveland 3. When we got LaMelo over here, who's like you said, he's good for the NBA. He has the votes. He has a huge following. I think LaMelo gets in.